I'm Teisha with Shalom TV's news update for Friday, January the 17th, 2014. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to attend the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland later next week, along with thousands of others, including Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. The Jerusalem Post reports today that the Prime Minister was asked in a Canadian television interview yesterday if he would be willing to meet with the Iranian president at the forum. To which Netanyahu responded, if Rouhani said, "We recognize the Jewish state, we, Iran, are prepared to have peace with Israel, Israel would be here forever, well, that would pique my interest in Davos or anywhere else." During the interview, Netanyahu also reiterated Israel's commitment to the peace process and to the security of the State of Israel. He also addressed criticism of Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper's support of Israel, saying Harper's critics are, quote, out of sync with the region. Netanyahu said that the Middle East is undergoing change in which, quote, many of the Arab countries see Israel not as an enemy but as a friend, despite the fact that many don't say so openly. He further said when Canada says Israel is our friend, they're not necessarily alienating the Arabs, quite the contrary. And Canadian Prime Minister Harper will make his first visit to Israel this Sunday. He will lead an approximately 250-member delegation to the country, which includes 6 ministers, 6 parliament members, businessmen, church leaders, and 170 Jewish community leaders. Harper will be greeted at Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's office in Jerusalem, together with an IDF band and honor guard, and will later join Netanyahu and his wife for dinner. On Monday, Harper will meet with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah. He will then head back to Jerusalem to address the Knesset that evening. Harper will meet later in the week with Israeli President Shimon Peres and make various stops across the country. Harper is known as a staunch Israel supporter. Director of the Israel office of Canada's Centre for Israel and Jewish Affairs, David Weinberg, said that under Harper's leadership, Canada has emerged as Israel's staunchest ally. He said it is frequently a step ahead of the rest of the world in defending Israel, setting a principled pro-Israel example. Israel's coastal city of Ashdod decided to close a portion of its schools today following rocket fire over Ashkelon yesterday. The southern port city closed only its unfortified schools and preschools due to fears of a potential escalation of rocket fire following yesterday's attack, where at least 5 rockets were fired on neighboring Ashkelon, all reportedly successfully intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system.
Wow.
UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, has postponed, or some say canceled, since no alternate date was given, an exhibit on Jewish ties to the land of Israel, just days before it was set to open. This after Arab protest claiming the exhibit could be damaging to the peace process. The exhibit, entitled The People, the Book, the Land, the 3,500-year relationship between the Jewish people and the land of Israel, was created by the Simon Wiesenthal Center and co-sponsored by Israel, Canada, and Montenegro. It was scheduled to run January the 21st through the 30th at UNESCO's Paris headquarters. However, UNESCO Director General Irina Bokova told the Wiesenthal Center on Wednesday that UNESCO is deeply committed to the successful outcome of the peace process in order to achieve stability in the region, and we have a responsibility in ensuring that current efforts in this regard are not endangered. According to Jewish news site Al Jemainer, president of UNESCO's Arab group, Abdullah Al-Naimi, had written a letter to Bokova asking her to pull the exhibit, saying its subject was highly political, and he said it could only cause damage to the peace negotiations and the neutrality and objectivity of UNESCO. Wiesenthal Center Dean Marvin Heyer told Al Jemainer that the UNESCO decision was an absolute outrage. He said, "The Arabs don't want the world to know that the Jews have a 3,500-year relationship to the land of Israel," adding that failure to open the exhibit as planned would confirm to the world that UNESCO is the official address of the Arab narrative in the Middle East. Heyer wrote in a letter to Bokova, "Let's be clear, the Arab group's protest is not over any particular content in the exhibition, but rather the very idea of it, that the Jewish people did not come to the Holy Land only after the Nazi Holocaust, but traced their historical and cultural roots in that land for 3.5 millennia. If anything will derail hopes for peace and reconciliation, Heyer said, among the people of the Middle East, it will be by surrendering to the forces of extremism and torpedoing the opening of this exhibition. Al-Gemeiner also said Heyer told them he was disappointed at the U.S.'s decision not to co-sponsor the exhibit, citing an email sent 10 days before the cancellation in which Director at the Office of UNESCO Affairs of the U.S. State Department, Kelly Siekman, wrote that at this sensitive juncture in the ongoing Middle East peace process and after thoughtful consideration with review at the highest levels, we have made the decision that the United States will not be able to co-sponsor the current exhibit during its display at UNESCO headquarters. The Wiesenthal Center has been working with UNESCO on the exhibit since 2011, and it has been repeatedly delayed since then. The center is set to hold a press conference to address the UNESCO decision this Monday. Meanwhile, Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Ron Prosor, criticized the UN's declaration yesterday of the International Year of Solidarity with the Palestinians. Prosor called the UN a tool in the service of Palestinian propaganda, saying while the Palestinians seek UN solidarity, they continue to educate an entire generation to hate Israel and deny the connection between the Jewish people to their homeland. He added it's time to stop the hypocrisy and ask where is solidarity with the victims of terrorism in Israel and their families. Earlier in the day, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon launched the Year of Solidarity, saying this will be a critical year for achieving the two-state solution, bringing an end to the occupation that started in 1967, and securing an independent, viable, and sovereign state of Palestine, living in peace and security with the State of Israel, where each recognizes the other's legitimate rights. Dutch Foreign Minister Frans Timmermans has asked the King of Morocco to reject several resolutions that make contact with Israel illegal. Dutch news agency Novum reported that Timmermans made the statements in the Dutch lower house yesterday, urging Moroccan King Mohammed VI to reject two bills that, according to Moroccan daily newspaper Ya Beladi, make it illegal to trade with Israeli entities, and at least one bill that makes it illegal for Israelis to enter Morocco. Timmermans called the bills alarming and said he would remain vigilant on the matter. The Netherlands has come under criticism recently from Israel for the decisions on the part of several Dutch companies to divest from Israel, namely the recent decision of pension fund PGGM to divest from 5 Israeli banks and that of water company Vitens to cease cooperation with Israeli water supplier Mekorot. And turning to our Shalom TV programming for tonight, Friday, January the 17th, live Shabbat services are coming up at 6 p.m. from New York City's Central Synagogue. Then at 8, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addresses the Jewish Federations of North America's General Assembly in Jerusalem. That address will replay tomorrow, Saturday night at 7, followed by Israeli President Shimon Peres' address to the GA at 8 tomorrow night. And looking further ahead this weekend, Sunday night at 8:30, you can watch the 10th anniversary celebration of Footsteps, an organization founded by an honoree of the evening, Malki Schwartz, that aims to, quote, empower formerly ultra-Orthodox individuals to live self-determined lives. That's all coming up this weekend here on Shalom TV and ShalomTV.com. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Friday, January the 17th, 2014. I'm Teisha Bader. Shabbat Shalom.